Recording in progress.
Well, because I knew her, and she responded to me, but it still said that she was already off.
Good morning, everybody. Morning, Matt.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm supposed to be on a Zoom call. Do that all weekend. I'll be there.
Good morning.
So I've just muted everybody so we don't get any background noise. So we're just still waiting for quorum, Matt. So there's people trickling in as we're talking, so. All right, Matt, it looks like we're good for quorum. I've started sharing my screen just to confirm everybody can see that.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay,
You can hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Maybe we'll call the meeting to order then. What time we got? 9:04 is what I have. Want to wish everyone a pleasant morning. My name is Matt Schellenberger. I am pleased to be the chair of the Greater Parkland Regional Chamber Board of Directors for 2023. We do have quorum, so just a big welcome. Thank you all for being here. We have quite a few of our board of directors here, as well as membership. Cyril, I saw you there. I think you are our dignitary that has joined us. So thank you to Cyril Turton for joining us, our MLA for Spruce Grove Stony Plain. So I'll begin with a land acknowledgement, as we do. We honor the land on which we stand as Treaty 6 territory. This is sacred land to many First Nation, Métis, and Inuit, and in particular our neighbors Paul First Nation, Enoch Cree Nation, Alexis Nakota Sioux Nation, Alexander Cree Nation, Friends of Michelle Society, advocating for the descendants of the former Michelle Band, and our Friends of the Métis Nation. We recognize and acknowledge Indigenous values, traditional teachings, ways of being, contributions, and historical inequalities. We commit towards strengthening relations and building bridges with our neighboring Indigenous communities. We all prosper together. From there, what I'll do is ask for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. So we can all see the agenda. I can't see everyone, Kendra, so I'll ask for the motion. Maybe you can just help me out here. Motion. Do we have a seconder? I see Richard, Aline, Lorraine, thank you. All in favor?
Seems good.
Any opposed? Any additions?
If there is
Motion.
if there is anybody, just unmute yourself because I've got to scroll through the people, so I might not see you.
Okay. Motion is good. Motion is carried. Thank you. Next, we'll look at the adoption of the minutes from our 2022 AGM. Hopefully you all had a chance to quickly peruse those. I'll ask for a motion to accept those minutes. Do we have a mover, seconder?
Second, Lorraine.
Thank you, Lorraine. Paula, did I see you there? Thank you. Any additional comments, questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Looks good, Matt.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Motion carried. Okay, I'd like to begin with a few general comments, and then I'll pass it to our 2023 Treasurer, Richard Wong, to present the audit. Over the past 2+ years, we've witnessed many changes. We have all had to adapt, rise to many challenges that have surfaced every day. We know that every business face challenging times and an uncertain future as we emerge from the pandemic. There continues to be turbulence. However, we are all excited to hear of the positivity and success stories our elected leaders presented at the State of the Region address a few weeks ago, focusing on projects for shared regional success and prosperity. As a chamber, we witness the tenacity, drive, and passion that our entrepreneurs and businesses bring to the region each and every day. They are the backbone of our communities and provide products and services that support us all. Last year was a difficult one for the chamber. As many of you recall, we did not return to some semblance of normalcy until the beginning of the second quarter, and then people were still reticent to attend events. And everyone was cautious of spending. Your chamber was significantly affected by this, and it was one of the key factors that contributed to the deficit for 2022. Our executive director, Sarah, in collaboration with the Finance Committee and board, has already actioned significant corrective action steps that will enable the chamber to return to a financial stable position. It is understood by the directors and operations team that critical financial decisions needed to be made to bring the Greater Parkland Regional Chamber to financial stable state and bring significant confidence to the members and stakeholders. Some of these measures will be detailed in the accompanying letter and will be described by Richard shortly. Please rest assured that we are confident that we can balance the books while supporting our membership and stakeholders and bringing value to your membership dollars. Your continued support is critical to the success of the chamber. On a positive note, 2023 has started very well, as the team has run several excellent and well-supported events and education initiatives. Our committees are working hard to deliver member value, augment our relationships with our municipal, provincial, federal, and nation partners, engage our emerging leaders, support our member businesses, and advocate to all levels of government for your interests. To that end, we have worked with our stakeholders to create 2 policies that address the inequality of financial homeless support for our municipalities, provincial accountability on homelessness, the burden on business, and provincial insurance premiums tax, a barrier to investment and responsible decisions. We are also co-sponsoring the following policies: creating an effective workforce for the changing economy, the Grown in Canada label, marketing Alberta's agri-food industry, increase in urban and rural crime and allocation of additional resources, and investment attraction to industrial zones. As a chamber, we can act on your behalf and voice your concerns, highlighting and bringing attention to those barriers to success of your organization. As a primary business organization in the region that has direct links to all levels of government, we are being recognized as a key contributor to the advocacy focus through the Alberta Chambers of Commerce. Through all these initiatives and more, we are confident that the GPRC is on the upswing and will remain financially strong in the years to come. As always, should you have questions or concerns about any of our initiatives, myself, the board and operations team are ready to hear you and to
Okay, you
support.
can see it where?
Just mute him there, please, Kendra. Okay, from there, I'd like to introduce our treasurer for 2023, Richard Wong. Richard, I'll turn it over to you and we can dig into the audit report.
Thanks, Matt. So I think before we discuss, I can hand over the presentation to Julia Jackson from the Metrics Group, who will be presenting the audited financials for 2022. Julia.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. So my name is Julia Jackson. I'm one of the external auditors with Metrics Group, and I'm here to present the financial statements of the Chamber for the December 31st, 2022 year end. For our financials, if you want to go to page 2 of the financial statements, this is our independent auditor report. One more page down. Perfect. Yes. This is our letter to you, the members, and it describes our method of doing the audit and how we proceeded and the steps we used and the outcome of the audit. It says that management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements, and that they did this in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. It says our job as the auditor is to obtain reasonable assurance whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement. We conducted our audit in accordance with Canadian Generally Accepted Auditing Standards, which says that we have to identify and assess the risk of material misstatement of the financial statements, obtain an understanding of the internal controls of the Chamber, evaluate the appropriateness of the accounting policies used by the Chamber, see if there's any going concern issues, evaluate the overall presentation structure and the contents of the financial statements that management has prepared, and at the end of the day, we prepare our opinion. And it's our opinion that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the Chamber as of December 31st, 2022. So, which means the audit went well. So we go to page 4 of the financial statement. This is your balance sheet, your statement of financial position as of December 31st, 2022. Your assets, the current assets, so that's anything that could be liquidated into cash within 1 year. Your cash and cash equivalents was down this year, 115,000 versus 207 in the prior year. Your accounts receivable was down this year and 9,400 versus 64,000 in the prior year. In the prior year, there was a large one-time grant that they were expecting, and then there was no such in the current year. Inventory, so this is the items in the gift shop in the office that they have on hand at year end. That was 318 this year, 800 in the prior year. Goods and services tax recoverable, none this year, it's a payable, and it was 748 in the prior year. Total current assets are 125,000 versus 273 in the prior year. Tangible capital assets, there was no additions or disposals. The decrease was with amortization, 308,000 versus 325 in the prior year, which gives the Chamber the total assets of 434,000 this year. Liabilities, your current liabilities, so anything due within a year, your accounts payable and accrued liabilities was 22,000 versus 35,000. Goods and services tax payable was $121, nothing in the prior year. Deferred revenue, so this is revenue received in the 2022 year end that was intended for the 2023 year end, and we recognize in the next year. 94,000 versus 130,000 in the prior year. Total current liabilities was 116,000 versus 165 in the prior year. Callable debt was 60,000, so that's a CV loan. That's third loan, which will be paid back by the end of the year. The total liabilities was 176,000 versus 225 in the prior year. Your net assets, so the equity of the chamber, the restricted net assets was a deficit this year of 51,000 versus 47 in the prior year. And your investment in tangible capital assets, so the equity related to your assets, was 308 versus 325 in the prior year. And that's your balance sheet of the chamber. On page 5 of the audit report is our income statement. So for 2022, the revenue was up this year. Events and projects, they were busy. This includes the expo, the golf tournament, the business awards, the Ukrainian fundraiser. Was 390,000 versus 167 in the prior year. Memberships about the same, 157,000 versus 159 in the prior year. Government grants were 158,000 versus 236 in the prior year. Last year we had some one-time grants and that weren't available this year. Non-dues revenues, so this is the kickbacks that they receive for their insurance, and 53,000 versus 52 in the prior year. Advertising promotion revenue was down this year because it didn't do one project. The Connect magazine was 17,000 versus 46 in the prior year. Other revenues, this includes any gift, the gift store sales, raffles, brick sales, stuff like that, was 4,400 this year versus 400 in the prior year. And interest, the rates are higher this year, so interest was up 1,700 versus 400 in the prior year. The total revenue of the chamber was 783,000 versus 663 in the prior year. The expenses, events and projects, and revenue is higher, more events, more expenses. 372,000 versus 175 in the prior year. Salaries and wages was down this year, 320,000 versus 328 in the prior year. Office expenses was up this year, 52 versus 57 in the prior year. Consulting fees, 24,000 versus 5,000 in the prior year. Building repair and maintenance, there's some new paint and new floors at 24,000 versus 23 in the prior year. Meetings expenses was up this year. We've been seeing that with COVID restrictions lifted, people can actually meet more. 17,000 versus 3,000 the prior year. Amortization, 16,000 versus 18,000 in the prior year. Utilities are down this year. That's due to the Spruce Grove location being closed in September. This is the first full year of just the Stony Plain location. 12,000 versus 17,000 in the prior year. Your membership fee, so this is the membership with the Alberta Chamber of Commerce of 11,000 versus 10,000 in the prior year. Bookkeeping was 10,000 versus 7,000 in the prior year. Insurance was 9,000 versus 6,000 in the prior year. Professional fees are accounting and legal of 9,000 versus 7,000 the prior year. Merchant fees with more revenue, more point of sale fees of 8,000 versus 5,000 in the prior year. And advertising and promotion expense was down this year because of that not doing the Connect magazine project. It was 7,000 versus 40,000 the prior year. The total expenses of the chamber were 899,000 versus 696 in the prior year, which led to a deficit of $115,000. Just a few comments about the audit in general. It went well. We received access to all the records that we requested and were well organized, and the staff were very helpful. So I just wanted to say thank you to Sarah and her team, because they were a very big help, and the audit went very well. Does anybody have any questions about the financial statements at all?
If you have a question, just unmute yourself or raise your hand, whichever is easiest.
Doesn't look like there are any questions, so thank you very much, Julia. Appreciate
Just-
your help.
Wanted to say that I work out of the Edmonton office of Metrics Group. So if you have any questions later in the week and wanted to get in touch with me, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Okay, thanks again, Julia. So as a board, and in particular, our finance committee and myself as a treasurer, we need to take ownership of the execution of our strategic plan and holding our team to our budget and ensuring the results like we've seen in this statement doesn't happen over the next year or in the future. This will include for this year refined budgeting and spending, including the development and implementation of formal related policies to help guide our board, guide our operations team, and also to make it transferable for new board members or boards or new team members that come in the future and moving forward. Clearly, based on these results, there's areas of focus that we want to key in on. Increasing our membership and event revenue is one of them. We've already seen an increase in new members and returning members who were not previously, renewing their memberships over the last few years. I think this is a good sign for things to come and is consistent with the success of business and the economic trend in our region. And further, we've actually seen a surplus with actuals in these areas in January and February. So that's a positive. I acknowledge that we were aggressive with getting back into events when we could have them in person last year, and clearly didn't make as much as we had expected. People in the region just weren't coming out for their own reasons. But again, as of this year, we've had an increase in attendance at all of our events, including our Women in Influence event and at the State of the Region, which I believe had the largest attendance and support in the organization's history. So I think that may be reflective of people just being more comfortable and coming out to support the organization. We've also already discussed and require further implementation of ensuring there are clear revenue generations when we're offsetting the cost of hosting our events and any event moving forward. So we've already had quality checks put in place for January and February. And moving forward, we want to ensure that our budget is properly calculated so that the revenue is offsetting those costs and that we exceed our expectations ideally, or we can identify where we fell short. It'll also be important for us moving forward to reduce certain costs where possible. So already this includes the reduction of 2 full-time positions for the remaining 3 quarters of our year. Unfortunately, this requires our operations team to take on additional responsibility to fill those gaps leaving, where the people are leaving, but at least those are costs that we can reduce. We also won't have anyone attending any 2023 conferences this year. There won't be any representation from the GPRC at the AGM for the Alberta Chamber of Commerce or the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, for example, where typically select board members would attend those events and be directly involved in policy development and that process that Matt had described, and specifically those policies that were put forward by our board. We'll still be involved in developing, reviewing, and supporting other chambers through our stakeholders relation and policy committee, but we just won't be on the ground during those debates at those events. We also don't anticipate any huge building repairs or maintenance costs, as we already did the required work last year. And in line with that, there'll be no capital spending approved. So we don't anticipate that any of those costs will need to be expensed this year. We also have, as a large focus, obviously increasing revenue. And we've already looked into this. So a cost from last year and a necessary cost to help better the chamber, because we've viewed revenue generation as a key factor in operating. We hired a consultant to assist us in providing revenue generations ideas, and we'll be working with our board and operations team to implement the best ways to determine what recommendations will help facilitate generating that revenue. Generally, this includes different revenue sources related to membership, events, retention, recruitment, and different communication strategies related to those. We've also retained the same consultant, and this was a cost that's reflected in our financials from 2022, to assist in finding a new executive director, who I can formally announce our current one, Sarah, will be retiring at the end of this year. So it'll be a huge loss for us operationally with Sarah leaving, but it's a cost that's reflected in those financials. But we thank Sarah for all her help, dedication, loyalty, and leadership to our organization during her tenure here. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything that people can want to ask right now.
Again, if you've got a question, stick your hand up or just unmute yourself.
Okay,
Not seeing-
well, if there are any, then please direct them to myself or our operations team, and we can respond accordingly. But
Richard, I see one from Lorraine Stewart.
sorry, hi, Lorraine.
Hi, yeah, good morning. Thank you very much. Thanks for the presentation on the audit, the financials, and I just wanted to express a thanks for taking a look at what needs to happen and moving forward in a difficult but a positive manner that will that will help things at the end of the day. And I do appreciate, Richard, that 2022 was not an easy year for anyone, and there was a lot of guessing as to what might happen and who might be, and so I think that the chamber did the very best that they could, and so thank you for the work moving forward.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. We appreciate your support. So if there are
Go ahead, Richard.
if there are no other questions, again, please feel free to reach out to myself or our operations team, and we're happy to discuss further. But hearing Julia's report, I'd like to put forward a motion to approve the 2022 audited financial statements as presented by Julia Jackson of Metrics Group LLP. I think I saw, and if I could have a second, I think I saw Pauline raise her hand, and Paula. Okay, is there anyone, thank you, and is there anyone opposed? Okay, none opposed, so I think that motion is carried.
Excellent. Thanks, Richard. From there, I will move to Sarah. Sarah's going to provide her report.
Oh, sorry. Hello, everyone. I would imagine that probably everybody knows who I am. I'm Sarah Parry. As the operational team witnessed another year of extreme challenges, we witnessed that challenge for the business community as well. But we were extremely humbled by the resilience and the tenacity shown by all of you. It's been an honor to work alongside you all as we faced these ongoing challenges. Some of them being labour shortages, supply chain issues, and more recently, a significant rise in crime. But I want to focus on some of the positives that I witnessed last year. The power, creative thinking, perseverance, and community spirit was on full display. It really reminded me how strong and compassionate our local business communities are, and really how a little bit of kindness can go a long way as we all work to support each other. We had multiple businesses open, which, given the challenge, is just incredible. Again, the tenacity of the business community was on full show. In 2022, we really ramped up our advocacy. So advocacy is something that really differentiates us from other business organizations. We have very strong relationships with all of levels of government. And we were able to bring forward a number of policies, and as Matt has said, we've brought a number of policies working particularly with municipal government for this year. We were able to deliver some of the chamber events, as Richard said. We didn't attract as many attendees as we'd hoped, but that was understandable. Everybody has been on their own journey with the pandemic, and we did appreciate the support that we received. Our team celebrated the joy of Kendra and her husband welcoming their son, and the commencement of maternity leave, which significantly affected the team. And obviously with the work that Kendra has put in with the comms and media and our marketing, attracting sponsorship was a significant loss to the team. And we struggled in replacing Kendra on a short-term basis and attracting somebody that could deliver events for us. But she's back. We have a team of incredibly dedicated people here. And as I said, this is my final year. This has been, well, last year was incredibly difficult, and obviously incredibly difficult for me personally with the audit, the way that it is. However, I have to tell you, the support of Richard as new treasurer, Landis as previous treasurer, and the whole of the board and the operational team is incredible. We understand what we have to do. We are in a challenging position, but we commit to you, and I commit to you, that we will get the books back on balance. And I really look forward to seeing out this year as one of great success, and then welcoming a new executive director into the position. So thank you sincerely for the support that you show me on a daily basis. And just before I hand back to you, Matt, I know that Dean Chapman, our group benefit provider, would just like to say a couple of words.
Hello, can you see me? Hear me?
We can't see you.
We can hear you.
Oh, that's probably for the best anyway. I just wanted to provide a quick update on the Chamber of Commerce Group benefit plan. So a lot of what we've been hearing when we go out and we talk to people is that they know that there's a lot of different options in the marketplace, and they're not really sure how the Chamber of Commerce Group benefit plan how it would fit into that equation. So one of the major areas that we address with businesses is obviously the first question that they have, which is the pricing. So when we talk to companies, we explain that while there are a lot of different options, a lot of different companies, Manulife, Sun Life, Blue Cross, etc., in the marketplace, there are really only two options. So you have on one side of the equation an experience rated benefit plan. And what that means is your company pays a premium every single month. Out of those premiums, claims get paid out. And then at the end of the period, the insurance company will look at how much your company used in benefit and how much your company paid in premiums. And they will evaluate your next year based on your company's specific usage. So that's one option, and that's at the other one end of the spectrum. And then at the other end of the spectrum is a pooled calculation. And what that means is thousands of companies pay premiums every single month. Those premiums all go into one big pool. Out of that big pool, claims get paid out. And then at the end of the year, the insurance company looks at how that whole pool performed, and those are the rates moving forward for the next year. So there's not really a right or wrong answer as to which way is best for your company. But one of the reasons why the Chamber's plan is valuable is that it's one of the few options that does fall on the pooled end of the spectrum, where most benefit calculations are the experience rated side of the spectrum. So you know, if you're saying, well, look, I've been on this benefit plan, I see a lot of fluctuations year in and year out, or, you know, we talk to a lot of not-for-profits where they say, you know, we do up our budget for the next 5 years, and we couldn't stand to have an increase of more than 5% in our costs, then that's where a pooled calculation is going to be a little bit more favorable for you. It gives you that consistency for budgeting year over year. You know, the rates will still increase as everything else does, but you'll still see a lot more consistency. So you know, what we'd like to do is now we have Brittany, who you may have already heard from, who's going to be reaching out to members and you know, introducing herself and familiarizing everybody with the plan. You know, we just always just ask for the opportunity to show you the difference in the calculations and how they can be beneficial for you. And then at least you'll be all the more wiser for knowing, you know, at least how your rates are calculated. So you know, and then carrying on from what I said at this State of the Region was, you know, a portion of all of the premiums paid into the chamber benefit plan go right back into your local Chamber of Commerce to help support the growth and the staff and the events that they put on. So you know, we look forward to talking with you further about the options. If you know, are a existing client, we obviously thank you for your business and participating. And if you're interested in getting more information, obviously reach out to you know, Sarah or the Chamber, or you can reach out to us directly. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Dean. I appreciate that update and information. I think, you know, that's a powerful service that the chamber offers, and certainly one that I would you know, underline as something to look into. Okay, on the agenda, there's a final opportunity here, and I'll just open up the floor for, you know, any general questions or comments before we conclude the AGM.
Richard Wong has his hand up. Go ahead, Richard.
Sorry, I had a note that the Metrics Group has also assisted us for over the last 6 years for our audits, and we'll be sending out an RFP as it has been overdue to provide an opportunity for others to bid on an opportunity to assist with our financials. So at this time, we'll be tabling the appointment of an auditor for 2023.
Okay. I think we need a motion for that. We're good. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, Richard. Any other comments, questions? Excellent. So again, big thanks to Richard Landis. There's, I think, most of our board is in attendance today. Thank you for all your ongoing work and support of our committees and our initiatives. Big thanks to Sarah and the operations team. They work so hard to bring services to our membership. As noted, Sarah will be departing towards the end of this year. We're already actively working, as Richard noted, with an HR firm. There will be a position profile and opportunity for that position to be filled. So you'll be seeing more information on that, but certainly you know, we're looking for fantastic candidates to continue to lead the organization in the years ahead. Big thanks to our ambassadors as well. There's several people on here who are our ambassadors. They are incredibly dedicated people as well, and you see them a lot at our grand openings. You know, the chamber is heavily involved in grand openings throughout the Tri-Region, and we are involved in I think it seems like one a week most of the time, so 40 or 50 a year grand openings and celebrations and others, and that group is incredibly dedicated, so thank you. And finally, to our stakeholders, again, thank you, MLA Turton, for joining us today. All of our municipal partners, our nation partners, our government partners, More and more groups like ours need to work hand in hand with key stakeholder groups to move things forward. Old school advocacy is sort of moved to a more collaborative advocacy, which I think is valuable, and we're making some incredible strides in that area. I think that was seen at the State of the Region a few weeks ago. So with those comments, we look forward to a fantastic spring. We're slowly getting there, and summer of upcoming events and engagement opportunities. I would underline, please be subscribed to our newsletter, to our social media channels. That's the best way to stay in touch with what's going on at the GPRC. Feel free to share things, promote things. I know we've got a great group of engaged members here, but certainly that's the way that we can all serve to get people more engaged with their membership, because that's something that often comes forth, is how do I get more engaged? And there's plenty of ways in the coming months. So that concludes our AGM for today. I want to thank everyone again for their attendance, and then I will ask for a motion to adjourn. You have a mover? Thank you. Seconder? All in favor? I think everyone I see has got their hands up. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you at upcoming events. Have a great day.